He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
We're going to get into some Bray Wyatt memories. And
Yeah, no good transition, really. But, yeah, if you haven't heard, you should have by now. A few weeks ago, we lost, one of the most creative minds in professional wrestling history. One of my current favorite wrestlers. I know he's easily up there with yours as well, Mark. We lost Bray Wyatt, Windham Rotunda, and just such a major loss and such a sad loss for not only the wrestling community but the world. Like, me and Mark didn't know him personally, but nobody in the entire world has a single bad thing to say about the guy. Truly, when he was here and now that he's not, I've never really heard a bad word about the guy ever. Everyone who ever has been around him said that they loved him. They loved being around him. They loved his laugh. They loved, and that he was just such a genuinely nice guy. They just said he was just genuinely one of the nicest people you'd ever meet. And, we don't know him personally, but from a fan's perspective, what he brought into professional wrestling. I know Mark, you're a film major. I'm very big into writing. So that the stories have always been the main thing, if not a huge part of what draws the two of us into wrestling. And there may have been no man more committed to the craft of telling a story of a character more than Bray Wyatt. Truly just unbelievable at what he could do, and gone way too soon. And he will be dearly, dearly missed. I guess the first thing we want to talk about is, let's go back to that night, Mark. Extreme Rules. Mark and I were there in the building. It was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The last match ends, and
hold on. I just want to turn the slide on.
Oh no! Oh yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to wait. All right, so just kick off with the Extreme Rules.
So, just bringing it back to, one of our most recent memories of Bray Wyatt was seeing him live make his return to WWE at Extreme Rules. The end of the show, the last match was done, and those lights went down, and you heard it. He's got the whole world in his hands. It was so slow like that. Perfect.
And what
an incredible return it was.
And the thing with that was the months leading up to that moment, all the little hints, all the little clues, the little mystery everyone was playing.
Yeah, it was this.
The world.
Yeah, it was this.
And it all led to that moment.
Yeah.
And I remember we were walking into the stadium and we were going to our seats, and all of the lights were out in the arena, where the ring was, and everyone had their flashlights on, and everyone was just chanting, "Bray Wyatt! Bray Wyatt!" And then we just immediately ran to the first little entrance thing to see what was going on, because we thought something had happened, and that was before the show even started. And then it nothing significant happened. It was just everyone was chanting for Bray Wyatt before the show even started. And then after the match, it was truly incredible. And then obviously just going back and like watching it after once like we got home with like all of the puppets that came to life. I mean, my goodness. And we were just like, even on the ride home, we were just like, this is like a moment we're never going to forget. Like,
Truly.
We were live in person to watch Bray Wyatt, one of the most highly anticipated returns ever. Like, we got to watch it happen live.
Yeah. Really a wrestler who should have never been gone from the company to begin with. I think that's part of the reason that made that return so special.
Yeah.
Because we were like, why the hell was this guy ever gone? And then fast forward a few months, and we had the privilege of not only seeing that moment live in person, but we were also in attendance for Raw is 30, when we had a beautiful moment between The Undertaker and Bray Wyatt, where, the Bray Wyatt was in the middle of his program with LA Knight, and of course, it was Raw is 30. All the legends were there, and Taker was there, and Bray and Taker hit a little double move on LA Knight, and then they had a little moment before Taker left the ring, where he was whispering in Bray's ear, and Bray said that was something he was going to keep to himself, and I'm sure that was an incredibly special moment for Bray, but just being able, we were there. We saw that moment, and we looked at each other. We were like, wow, did we just watch the passing of the torch from The Undertaker to Bray Wyatt?
It's hard to believe that didn't happen prior
honestly,
to that moment.
Yeah, honestly.
But boy, am I glad that we were there for it.
Yeah.
Because it was truly incredible. And it was also just like American Badass.
Oh,
Undertaker as well, which kind of makes it funny. But yeah, even just like during that whole Raw was crazy, but like that was like the one thing, like, dude, like we watched The Undertaker pass the torch to Bray Wyatt. Yeah. That was like the biggest takeaway, and it just like it goes to show like how much like the fans appreciate and love Bray Wyatt. On the show where you had so many legends, you had DX, like you had so many people. And the thing we took away, the thing we're going to cherish the most, was The Undertaker passing the torch to Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's even before Bray had passed away. That for sure was the biggest moment. And even more so now. It's really sad. It really, really is sad. A father, husband, a friend to many, a brother, a son. It's just so sad to lose someone like this so tragically. And it makes me incredibly grateful, kind of bringing it back to that Monday night after his return at Extreme Rules, where for the first time, Bray Wyatt addressed the crowd and addressed the WWE Universe, kind of just as a guy. You know what I mean? As more than just the character. That was Bray Wyatt showing us his true colors for the first time. And especially now, it's just insane.
It's crazy to like...
Thank God we got that moment. You know what I mean?
And
it was such a special moment.
All of his promos following his return were like so raw, so real, so emotional. Like it was truly like we've never seen Bray Wyatt like that before. And it was just like every time he was out there, it was just like truly you were watching it. And it was just like incredible the way he was able to tell a story, the way he's able to cut a promo. Like he like it was just like you could just tell that he really was passionate about professional wrestling. And it's a shame. It's not only did like we lose one of the best professional wrestlers, one of the best creative minds in wrestling. Mm-hmm. But, people lost a father, they lost a son, they lost a brother, like they lost a husband. So it just goes to show that like it's just he had such a big impact.
So much bigger than wrestling.
Yeah. So now we're pretty much just going to get into like some other memories and like moments that we remember throughout like Bray's career. And I don't think we're going to go in any order, but the one I'm going to kick off with is, and his little feud with Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
Because that was like
when Daniel Bryan at the time, when he like joined the Wyatt family.
Yeah, I mean that was definitely like one of the favorite things that I've seen with Bray Wyatt. And it just goes to show that like it's just like he's so good that like you could have thrown anybody in with the Wyatt family and like they're just on that level where it's gonna work. And like it was just something where it's like, wow, like Bryan Danielson's with the Wyatt family, like you're unsure about it, but then like
It
man,
worked.
did it pan out.
Yeah,
And I just remember the moment of like Danielson like about to
finally
turn.
taking off that.
Yeah, and the crowd's going nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. And it's just like, dude, like you're just gonna like think about those memories, those matches, those moments like so much more highly now.
Yeah. I mean, I'll bring it back to it's crazy to think about. Bring it all the way back to the original NXT days before NXT Black and Gold. I'm talking about when NXT was a little competition reality show.
Husky Harris.
Husky Harris, and his mentor was Cody Rhodes on the original NXT, which is pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And fast forward all these years later, of course, Cody's like the biggest star in the company, and Bray was easily one of them as well. It's pretty crazy to see, how much he was able to do in his unfortunately short-lived career. Thank God we got a few title runs with Bray Wyatt as well. I'm never going to forget him winning the WWE Championship in the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
I mean, what an absolute... Dude, that moment where that promo where he's like, I can look at you and I can say I truly have the whole damn world in my hands.
Yeah.
Oh, chills, bro. Chills. So damn good. Early into his career when he was Prime Wyatt family, he had a WrestleMania match with John Cena. And I remember I was very excited about that. I was very excited that Bray was getting the opportunity to go up against a guy like John Cena. And then fast forward so many years later, and we have the COVID WrestleMania, and we get, to me, which I think it's probably going to be a lot more appreciated now that Bray is gone, but that Firefly Funhouse match, man,
and I'll tell
against
you what,
John Cena, to me it was so beautiful because it was really like a Bray coming. It was a circle coming full story. Going and getting a victory over John Cena. And because technically, even though that was a cinematic type match, I mean, that was a victory for Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
And talk about someone who saw an opportunity to think outside the box as far as that like cinematic type match felt, the Firefly Funhouse match.
Yeah.
And I mean, Bray Wyatt was the leader in that. He was the creative leader in all of that. And so the guy was just insane, dude. Like, as a creative mind, like, it's such a shame that we weren't able to get so much more from this guy. He's just...
And it's just like...
It's really one of the hardest deaths in wrestling in recent memory. It's... Especially with him and Brody being gone now.
Yeah.
And let's just hope they're up there together. Winning the tag team titles up there.
Yeah, and it's like going back to the Firefly Funhouse match. Like, I remember after we watched it, like, we were pumped. Like, we thought it was like, we were saying, like, I really enjoyed the match. Like, I thought it was incredible, and it's like, it was a glimpse into like the mind of like what Bray Wyatt is capable of creating. Like, it was essentially like, it was like wrestling, but it was like more than
it was like
outside.
a horror movie.
Yeah, it was essentially like
it was like a psychological
film.
thriller.
Yeah, it was like, dude, like
But
if
a
Bray
wrestling
Wyatt
match,
was to make a movie, like we know it'd be incredible.
Oh my
like
gosh.
and it was just like, and just the trust to throw John Cena in there with them, and like John Cena's doing like the cinematic match, and you can tell like Cena gave it his all. It's just like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just,
yeah. And then of course, I guess like kind of go through his incredible run as the Fiend. I mean, we gotta mention the Fiend.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk too long about, what could have been and what should have been. When obviously there was a controversial loss there, at one point. But, I mean, the Fiend was such an amazing character. The Firefly Funhouse and the Fiend and the Hurt versus Heal, everything that went into it. First of all, I mean, that was a long story. Like, that was a very long story. We really didn't get the Fiend. We didn't really see the Fiend for a very long time.
Yeah.
It was just Firefly Funhouse after, and we knew the different things going on, and that was one of the situations where the Fiend was one of the ones, like that whole Bray Wyatt situation. That, if I'm being honest, that was probably the storyline that really made me be able to be patient with wrestling, looking back on it, and being able to be patient in letting this story develop because of how much creative trust I had in Bray Wyatt that whatever was going on, this was going to lead to something incredible.
Yeah.
And it did.
And it's also
And
just
thank God he was able to, be champion as the Fiend as well.
the Firefly Funhouse stuff, like, it was interesting. Like,
Yeah.
as silly and as, like, over the top as it was
great.
It was like,
amazing.
very intriguing. And it's just, like, it just shows how much range he has to be able to just, like, play Bray Wyatt as the Firefly Funhouse, but then he's also, like, portraying the Fiend in, like, as the same person. Like, it's just truly incredible. And then you throw in, like, Alexa Bliss towards the end of, like, his initial run, like,
Yeah.
and that feud with Randy, I believe, and it's just like, it's special, man. He was a special guy.
He
and
was a special guy, man. And
he's just, if, like, he's one of the people where it's just like, if you could just dissect anyone's brain, like, he'd definitely be one of the top people to dissect their brain and just like talk to him.
Just to learn more about him. He's definitely a guy that would be at the top of my list, as far as just people to have a conversation with in the wrestling business. He's definitely atop that list of somebody that I would have loved to talk about. And we're really going to miss him. We're really going to miss Bray Wyatt. With that being said, there's no real easy way to cut off an episode like this. But we really just wanted to get on here and talk about some of our best memories of Bray Wyatt, watching him as a fan, and just say thank you to Bray Wyatt, to Windham Rotunda, for giving so much of himself to professional wrestling. This is something that me and Mark basically revolve our entire lives around. And when someone is that committed to telling a story, when someone is that committed to professional wrestling, fans like us notice, and we know, and we can tell. And Bray Wyatt undoubtedly is one of the most cherished and respective and creative people and minds and characters. He's one of the greatest of all time. And we're really going to miss Bray Wyatt. Our thoughts are with his family, his wife, his children, every single one of his friends, all of his fans, anyone who knew him, anyone who had the privilege of watching Bray Wyatt do what he was so incredibly gifted at doing, which was being a sports entertainer, being a professional wrestler. So, thank you so much for listening, guys. We won't do a cheap plug at the end of this one. Won't make you sit around and wait for that. Just definitely doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
So, rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. We love you. We miss you. And we will never forget you. And we will never let your memory die.